Okay, so right now we're going to be talking about a couple tips of how to make sure that you never pay interest, right? So if you have a credit card and you want to borrow money ahead of time and then pay it off later, you want to make sure that you have a few things in place. And then there's two tips of how to always be paying that off on time without ever paying interest rate. So if you use a credit card and you swipe it at the gas station or at the mall or at the GameStop or whatever, that money is going to be charged to your account today, but then they give you a specific amount of time for you to pay back. If you pay that back and you don't delay that, if you don't go over that date, then they don't charge you an interest rate. But if you pay later after that date, then you'll have to pay an interest rate, or they'll charge you an interest rate, and that's above and beyond what you spent. So let's say that you spent $100 at a dinner or an event and you paid off on the date, then you only owe them $100. But if you don't pay it on time, they're going to charge you an amount above the 100. So let's say if your rate is a good rate, 10%, 15%, 20%, they'll charge you a percentage of that amount that you spent and you didn't pay on time. So before you spend that money, make sure that you have a cushion or a savings or an emergency fund that you can cover that in case you cannot pay that with your hourly wage or your salary. What happens with the very large percentage of the population is that they think that they're going to be able to make that money with their salary. And so they spend it counting on the fact that they're going to be making that money. But then when it comes time to pay off that credit card, an emergency happened or something else that they were not planning on spending, they ended up spending, and now they don't have the money to pay for that. So the statement date comes and goes and they don't pay it. They only pay the minimum, which means that now the credit card company has a contract with you and they are allowed to charge you an interest rate above and beyond what you spent. And when you pay them, the first amount of that money goes towards the interest that they pay you. So let's say that you owe them $100 for a charge and they charge you $10 for the interest. When you pay them $25, out of the 25, they're going to take 10 and pay for the interest, and only 15 will go to the money that you owe them. And so it's very hard to pay off a large credit card bill because you're always paying for the interest first. Whatever's left over after the interest is paid for, that's when they apply towards the principal or the amount of money that you originally charged. So make sure that when you charge something on your credit card, make sure that you can pay that back and you have an emergency fund or a savings that can cover you in case your hourly wage or your job goes away and you don't have that planned income. Okay? So the two tips for you to pay the credit card bill on time is, this is what I taught my kids. Every credit card has an auto pay feature. And I'm not a fan of auto pay, but for the sake of never missing a payment, which weighs heavily on your credit history, you never want to miss a payment. You can always set up an auto pay. And you can set it up for the minimum amount because then it helps you at least not miss the payment. And once it drafts from your account, you remember that you owe them, and then you go over there and you make the rest of the payment. But the one way so that's one way to do it. Set up an auto pay for a specific amount that you know will cover at least the minimum payment. And then once that drafts from your account, you're alerted and you go over there, oh, I owe this. Or just put it on your calendar, right, that you have to pay that bill, and then you never miss that payment. But the other thing that I taught my kids and that I do it myself is every time I use my credit card, let's say that I am at the pump and I just charge my credit card $50 to fill up the gas, when I go home that night, every charge that I charge on my credit card, I'll go ahead and pay for that. So let's say that today I spent $200 in groceries and gas. Before I go to sleep today, I already go ahead and make that payment to my credit card. So when the statement comes, it shows charge, pay, charge, pay. And so when it comes the statement, I owe nothing, but I do have those charges and I pay them off. A couple reasons why that's very, very good to do. Number one, you'll never carry a balance because you actually have the money. Number two is that credit card companies charge you for the daily average balance. So if you were to, for example, carry a balance one time because of an emergency, whatever is paid for, they don't charge you for. So let me give you an example. Let's say that there's 30 days on the cycle, okay? And for the sake of this exercise, we'll do from the 1st to the 31st of the month to make it easier for you. Let's say that on the 1st of the month, you charge $50 for your gas and you pay that off. Okay, go that night, you pay it off. So now you owe nothing. Let's say that on the 10th of the month, you charge $100 for groceries, but that you don't pay that off. Okay, so you leave that balance there because you say, oh, I don't have to pay that off until the 30th of the month. The statement balance is not due until the 30th. So on the 10th of the month, you make a $100 purchase and you don't pay it off right then and there. Okay, and let's say that on the 20th of the month, you have an emergency. You have a flat tire, or you have to take a trip to go see a family member, and you spend money that you don't have, and you're going to have to carry a balance. Well, comes the 31st, you don't pay your bill. You only pay $25, $30, the minimum amount for the credit card, just so you're not late. That $100 that you charged on the 10th of the month will be charged a daily fee because it's a balance that you've carried from the 10th all the way through the 31st. You will not pay a fee for the original $50 that you charged and paid. So that's why it's important that if you charge and pay, if there is an emergency, whatever you paid for, you will not pay an interest on. But if you didn't pay for that, then you carry a balance on the daily average. Okay, the daily average. So if from the 1st to the 10th you had no balance, then you don't pay any interest on that original $50. But if you carry a balance on every day that you carry a balance, that is averaged out, and then you're going to pay the APR that your contract says so. So that's what I told my kids. I said, if you are sitting at the pump, you just charged $50. When you get home, make that payment. When you go to the grocery store, you spend $100. When you get home, make that payment. Nowadays, you can open an app and make a payment while you're at the red light. It's so easy to do. So why not create that habit of paying it off every time you use it? That way, you are making money on the credit card, not the other way around. So if you have a credit card that does not charge you a yearly fee, and you're paying them on time, so you're not paying them a late fee, and you're not paying them interest rate, they are actually paying you to have the credit card. They're giving you points, and you're getting gifts and points and miles and whatever else you get with your program. So now they're paying you to have the credit card, which is exactly the type of relationship that you want to have with the credit card. Any other type of relationship with the credit card where you pay them, you need to stop that, and you need to reevaluate your relationship with money and credit cards before you continue to use them. So that's how you avoid paying an interest rate, is when you have a cushion to carry that extra charge in case it happens. You set up an auto pay and you pay it when you spend it, so that you never carry a daily balance. Okay, so that's my tip for today. Thanks. Bye.